Excellent point, and I didn't want to stop you, Mr. Ivey. I now recognize Mr. Garbarino, the gentleman from New York, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, thank you, Chairman. Colonel Paris, there have been conflicting reports about the location of state and local law enforcement. Secret Service Director, I believe, said that, former Secret Service Director said that local police were in the same building that the gunman fired from, while other accounts indicate that local law enforcement was in an adjacent building. Were any Pennsylvania state troopers, state police assigned to the building where the shooting happened?
There were no state troopers, to my knowledge, assigned there, sir.
Do you know if any other local law enforcement were assigned inside that building?
I only know that Butler ESU were assigned. When you say that building, I'm referring to there's a series of buildings there that have covered walkways or second-story walkways that allow you to, it's almost like a pole barn type configuration, a modular type building. But to my knowledge, there were no troopers assigned to that location, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Yos, as technology has evolved, drones have become widely available to both law enforcement and the general public. For a large event with this level of security, would you normally expect law enforcement to use drones for surveillance and deploy counter-drone technology?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
Would you normally expect law enforcement to use drones for surveillance and deploy counter-drone technology?
Well, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I just, in my experience at this location is there are a number of elevated locations that should have been secured. There are a lot of ways to secure that. They could be with individuals assigned to it, but certainly an overwatch to be able to get a good visual of those locations is paramount.
So it's been reported that the Secret Service apparently did not use drones for surveillance, but the shooter was able to fly his own drone over the area earlier on the day of the rally and get aerial footage of the site. Do you know if that's true?
I have no direct knowledge.
Were you, okay, so, and you know if whether or not local, state, Secret Service enforcement was aware of any drone use?
I've heard the news reports, but I have no direct knowledge.
Would you consider this a major security breach?
Absolutely.
Now, it's also been reported, Colonel Paris, that the local law enforcement spotted the shooter outside the AGR building and on its roof minutes prior to the shooting. Did local police alert the Secret Service that the gunman was on or around the AGR building roof? Do you know?
So this goes to my earlier qualifier about the timeline, but my understanding of the sequence of events is that he was determined to be suspicious as a result of behavior that he was exhibiting, milling around that area in front of the AGR building. There was a text thread that was going, I've been briefed, between the ESU members. They identified, they took a photo of him. At some point when he utilized the rangefinder, the suspicion was heightened. So I know at a certain point in the command post, a member of PSP received a phone call and a text message from members of ESU, and I know from an interview that that was immediately relayed in the command post to the Secret Service.
And what happened? Yeah. So that was my next question. So what happened? What actions were taken after it was relayed to Secret Service?
So when the PSP member received that information and verbally turned right around, gave it to the Secret Service, our member was provided with a number to which the picture that had been taken by the Butler ESU members, or that was on that group thread, to which that should be sent. Our member did that, and our understanding was that was some element of the Secret Service.
So this was all reported, yeah, this was all reported to Secret Service, and they gave him, Secret Service then sent him back, one of your officers, a number back to send the information back to? Is that what you just said?
That's my understanding.
When did that happen?
Again, the actual timeline, I'm very remiss because I know these timelines need to be hammered out exactly to the minute, but I would say, you know, that the overall timeline is about an hour before is when he became suspicious to ESU. What I want to say is, if we know that former President Trump was shot at 11 hours, it was probably in the vicinity of 25 to 30 minutes, but I want to make sure that's a very...
So it was before he was on, before he went on to speak?
But at that point, just to be clear, he was determined to be suspicious. There was no information that he possessed a weapon. He was outside. of that building where the ESU was posted. They were being vigilant. It's, I think, relevant that there were other people at the venue who were suspicious and reported likewise in a close temporal nexus to that as well.
But just to confirm, the Secret Service had this information that there was a suspicious individual. He had used a rangefinder, which made him even more suspicious. And this was all reported to them prior to the President Trump being allowed on the stage to speak?
I believe, again, I'll defer to when the president came out. I know that that was probably 20 to 25 minutes before 11 hours. And steps were taken by the municipal officers over in that area to they were actively looking for crooks. You saw the building yesterday. That's a pretty wide footprint. They began looking for him. There were scores of people making their way across that facility. Again, just for some context, there were over 100 people that day that necessitated or were requiring medical attention due to the heat. There was a missing 6-year-old. This individual was deemed to be suspicious because he was walking around and not moving into the venue. The rangefinder obviously heightened that, and they were attempting to locate him as people were moving across that space who were attending the event to the secure perimeter.
Was he the only one determined to be suspicious that day?
The gentleman needs to wrap it up,
he
and
was
perhaps
not.
somebody else